Commander Thrax of the Varnak Dominion watched the human colony through his flagship's forward sensors and felt nothing but contempt. The settlement sprawled across a marginally habitable world, its atmosphere too thin, its gravity too harsh, its sun too violent. Only desperate species colonized such places, and humans from everything Dominion intelligence had gathered were nothing if not desperate. "Commander, their defensive fleet is moving." Thrax clicked his mandibles in annoyance. Lieutenant Varn's voice carried an edge of concern that bordered on insubordination. The Varnak did not concern themselves with prey species. They conquered, they absorbed, they moved on. "How many vessels?" 47, Commander." A laugh rippled through the bridge crew. 47 ships against the Dominion's 300. The humans had gathered every vessel within 3 systems, thrown them into a defensive formation that would have embarrassed a Varnak training cadet, and now sat trembling behind a planetary shield that wouldn't stop a single bombardment wave. "They're hailing us," Varn said. Thrax waved one clawed hand. "Put it through." The view screen resolved into a human face. Female. Older by human standards, with gray streaking through dark hair and lines carved around her eyes. Her uniform carried no ornamentation, no rank insignia that Thrax could identify. She looked tired. But her eyes weren't tired. "You are entering sovereign human space," the woman said. "Turn your fleet around or we will respond." Thrax leaned forward, enjoying this. "You will respond? With what? Your 47 obsolete patrol ships, your planetary defense grid that takes 6 minutes to charge, your colony of 300,000 souls." The woman didn't blink. "My name is Admiral Elena Vasquez, commander of the 3rd Exodus Defense Fleet. I am authorized to inform you that your ships are currently inside a restricted military zone. You have 30 standard minutes to withdraw." "Or what?" Thrax savored the question. "Or we will summon reinforcements." The bridge erupted in laughter. Humans and their reinforcements. Their entire species occupied 12 systems, most of them marginal. Their total fleet capacity barely matched a single Dominion sector garrison. And this woman threatened reinforcements. Thrax let the laughter continue for a long moment. Then he raised a hand for silence. "Admiral Vasquez, I will give you 1 hour to evacuate your population. Any humans remaining on this world when my bombardment begins will be classified as combatants." He paused. "And I do not take prisoners." He cut the channel before she could respond. "Lieutenant Varn, begin descent trajectory. Prepare forward batteries for orbital strike." "Commander, I'm detecting something." Thrax turned. "Explain." Varn's scales had paled to a shade Thrax had never seen. The young officer stared at his display as if watching his own execution. Long-range sensors picked up multiple drive signatures approximately 8 minutes ago. At first, I thought it was the human defensive fleet repositioning, but these signatures are coming from outside the system. "How many?" Varn's voice dropped to a whisper. 200, 300, I can't get an accurate count. They're everywhere." Thrax crossed to the tactical display. His blood chilled. The system's outer edge bloomed with contact icons. Not 47 ships, not 200. 400, 600. The display stopped counting at 800 and kept adding markers. "That's impossible," Thrax breathed. "Humanity doesn't have that many ships." "They're not coming from any known human colony," Varn said. "They're coming from the void." The first wave of human ships didn't attack. They emerged from the darkness between stars in perfect formation, their hulls dark and angular, built for function rather than intimidation. But function, Thrax was learning, had its own terror. 200 vessels glided past the Dominion fleet's forward pickets without firing, without hailing, without acknowledging the Varnak presence at all. They moved with a precision that spoke of decades, perhaps centuries, of coordinated practice. "Commander, the human defensive fleet is merging with the incoming ships." Thrax watched his tactical display transform. The 47 pathetic patrol vessels didn't flee. They didn't form a defensive line. They simply turned and joined the larger formation, sliding into positions that had clearly been assigned long before the Dominion ever arrived. This wasn't a response to his invasion. This was a schedule. "Open a channel," Thrax ordered. The human admiral's face reappeared. She looked less tired now, almost expectant. "You have 22 minutes remaining on your withdrawal window," Vasquez said. "What is this?" Thrax demanded. "Where did these ships come from? Your species doesn't have the industrial capacity to build." "We didn't build them here." The answer made no sense. Ships had to come from somewhere. They required infrastructure, resources, time. Humanity's 12 systems couldn't possibly support a fleet of this size. "Then where?" Thrax pressed. Vasquez tilted her head. "Why would I tell you? You came here to bomb my people. You threatened genocide, and now you want me to share military secrets." "Your ships don't have weapons." Thrax had been scanning them frantically. The incoming vessels carried energy signatures consistent with life support, propulsion, shields. No weapons arrays, no torpedo bays, no kinetic cannons. They were transports, all of them. "Those aren't warships," Thrax said, understanding dawning. "You're bluffing. You brought civilian vessels to a military engagement." Vasquez smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. "Commander Thrax, you're looking at 200 colony ships. Each one carries 2 million humans in suspended animation. Each one has been flying for centuries." She paused. "And each one has been waiting for this moment for 800 years. Waiting for what?" "Waiting for someone stupid enough to attack us while our real fleet was in position." Thrax's mandibles clicked in confusion. "What real fleet? These are transports, they're helpless." "Are they?" The human admiral gestured to someone off-screen. The transmission continued, but Thrax's attention shifted to his tactical officer, who had gone completely still. "Commander," Varn whispered, "the transports are broadcasting something, a signal I can't identify." "Show me." The display changed. 200 colony ships scattered across the outer system, each one suddenly radiating energy signatures that made no sense. Not weapons, not shields, something else. Something that made Thrax's sensor arrays report errors no one had ever seen before. "It's like they're folding," Varn said. "The space around them is folding." And then the human admiral's voice came through again, calm as still water. "Commander Thrax, you asked where our ships came from. The answer is everywhere. They've been here the whole time, you just couldn't see them." The first gravity fold tore open 3 kilometers from the Dominion flagship. Lieutenant Varn had been trained to analyze tactical situations, calculate probabilities, and recommend courses of action. But his training hadn't covered this. The gravity fold expanded like a wound in reality. Space itself bent around its edges, light curving into the distortion, stars smearing into ribbons of color. And from that impossible aperture, ships began emerging. Not the boxy colony transports, not the outdated patrol vessels. Warships. They came in silence, their drives producing no detectable emissions, their hulls absorbing every scanning frequency the Varnak possessed. Each vessel was a needle of dark metal, 4 kilometers from prow to stern, covered in protrusions that Varn's tactical database couldn't identify. 20 ships, Varn reported. 30, 40, they keep coming. Thrax gripped his command chair until his claws left marks. How are they doing this? The human admiral's face remained on the viewscreen, watching them with an expression Thrax couldn't read. Not triumph, not anger, something older. 800 years ago, Vasquez said, we discovered something about the universe. Gravity isn't a force, it's a language, And if you learn to speak it, you can ask reality to do things. You're hiding entire fleets inside gravity wells, Thrax said, understanding finally breaking through his shock. We're hiding entire fleets inside the gravity of stars, planets, moons, even other ships. Vasquez gestured to the transports. Those colony vessels aren't unarmed. They're anchors. Every transport you see is holding a warship in its gravity shadow. You weren't facing 200 ships. You were facing 200 doors. The math hit Thrax like a physical blow. 200 colony ships, each one carrying millions of humans, each one hiding a warship. But if the transports were doors and the warships were behind them? How many? He whispered. Vasquez leaned closer to her camera. Commander Thrax, the Varnak Dominion controls 800 star systems. Your military budget exceeds humanity's entire economic output by a factor of 40. You outnumber us, outgun us, and outspend us in every measurable category. She paused. But we've been running for 800 years. And in 800 years, we've learned that you don't survive a chase this long by being weaker than the people chasing you. You survive by being stronger than everyone else. Another gravity fold tore open, then another, then 10 more. The system filled with human warships. Lieutenant Varn, Thrax said, his voice steady despite the terror crawling up his spine, give me a count. Varn's hands trembled over his display. I can't. They're still coming. Every time I think I've found them all, another fold opens. Commander, there are ships emerging from the gravity shadows of our own vessels. They've been hiding inside our fleet's mass. Thrax turned back to the view screen. Admiral Vasquez, what do you want? 20 minutes ago, I wanted you to leave. Now, she glanced at something off-screen. Now I want you to understand something. We didn't build this fleet to fight you. We didn't build it to conquer anyone. We built it to survive what's coming. What's coming? The human admiral's expression shifted. For the first time, Thrax saw something behind her eyes. Not fear, not exactly, but something close. Something that had been there for 800 years. Commander, I'm going to show you why we're running. The warships kept emerging, but Thrax had stopped counting. His tactical display had become a map of human occupation. Every gravity fold a declaration of territory the Varnak had never known existed. Commander, I'm detecting a new signal, Varn said. It's coming from the colony's surface. Put it on audio. A voice filled the bridge, not Admiral Vasquez, someone older, male. His words carried the weight of centuries. To the commander of the Varnak Dominion fleet, my name is Arthur Cross. I was born on Earth 812 years ago. I've been asleep for most of that time, waking only when my species needs me. Today, I woke up because you made a mistake. Thrax found his voice. Who are you? I'm the architect of the Exodus fleet. I'm the man who figured out how to hide warships inside gravity shadows. I'm the reason humanity has survived this long. A pause. And I'm the one who decides whether your species lives or dies today. Show yourself. The view screen split. Admiral Vasquez remained on one side. On the other, an old human male appeared. His face was weathered, his hair white, his eyes pale and sharp. He sat in a chair that looked more like a command throne, surrounded by displays showing the entire system. I'm not on the colony, Cross said, answering Thrax's unspoken question. I'm on the flagship of the Exodus fleet, and I'm much closer than you think. Thrax's blood turned to ice. Where? Cross gestured and the view shifted. The old human was sitting inside a chamber that looked out onto space, and outside his window, Thrax could see stars. But not the stars of the human colony. These stars were different, brighter, closer. Cross was in the same system, but not near the colony. He was near the Dominion fleet, near enough that Thrax could see individual ships through the old man's window. The thing about gravity shadows, Cross said, is that they're not just for hiding. They're also for moving. Every colony ship in your system isn't just an anchor. It's a door that opens both ways. A chill ran through the bridge as every Varnak officer realized the same thing at the same time. The human warships weren't coming from somewhere else. They were coming from everywhere, from behind every planet, every moon, every asteroid, even from the gravity shadows of the Dominion ships themselves. Commander Varnbreth, the fleet, were surrounded. Thrax looked at his tactical display and saw the truth. Human warships had materialized in every conceivable position, above, below, behind, inside. They had never been invading human space. They had sailed into a trap that had been 800 years in the making. "Admiral Vasquez," Thrax said, "what do you want?" The human woman looked at him with those tired, ancient eyes. "I told you, Commander. I want you to understand why we're running." She gestured and the view screen changed. The image that replaced Admiral Vasquez showed a region of space Thrax didn't recognize. Dark, empty, and wrong. The stars in the background were moving in ways that violated every law of physics he understood. "What am I looking at?" Thrax demanded. "That," Arthur Cross's voice came through, "is the reason humanity left Earth. That's the reason we've been running for 800 years. That's the reason we learned to hide entire fleets inside gravity shadows." The image zoomed in. At first Thrax saw nothing, just darkness and stars, but then his eyes adjusted and he saw it. Something was moving through the void. Something vast. Something that absorbed light rather than reflecting it. Something that bent space around its edges so severely that the stars behind it appeared to flow like water. "How big is that?" Lieutenant Varn whispered. "Big," Cross replied. "Big enough to eat planets. Big enough to eat stars. Big enough that when it finds a system, that system stops existing." The creature, Thrax had no other word for it, continued its silent passage. It had no visible features, no propulsion, no weapons. It simply moved and everything in its path disappeared. "We call them the Hollow," Cross said. "We don't know what they want. We don't know if they want anything, but we know they follow us. Every time we settle a world, they find it. Every time we build a fleet, they destroy it. We've lost 17 colonies to the Hollow. We've lost 3 billion people." Thrax couldn't look away from the image. "And you've been running from this for 800 years. Running and learning. Every time they found us, we learned something new. How to hide, how to move faster, how to fight." "Fight?" Thrax laughed, but there was no humor in it. "How do you fight something that eats stars?" Cross's face returned to the screen. "You don't, not directly, but you can hurt it. You can slow it down. You can make it cost more than it wants to pay." The old man gestured and the image shifted again. Now Thrax saw a battle. Human warships, older models, less advanced, swarming around a Hollow. The creature didn't react until the ships opened fire with weapons Thrax didn't recognize. Not missiles or lasers. Something else. Something that made gravity itself into a blade. The Hollow shuddered. Parts of its mass flaked away. It slowed. Then it turned and consumed 5 ships in a single movement. "The gravity shears work," Cross said. "We can hurt them, but we can't kill them. Not yet. That's why we keep building. That's why we keep moving. That's why we hide fleets inside gravity shadows." Thrax finally understood. "You're not running from us. You never were." "We're not running from anyone," Vasquez said, her voice soft. "We're running with everyone. Every human alive is on those ships. Every colony is a temporary stop. Every world we settle is just a rest area on a journey that's lasted longer than your species has had spaceflight." The view screen cleared, showing the human fleet in all its terrible glory. Thousands of ships, millions of souls, all of them poised to disappear into the void at a moment's notice. "Commander Thrax," Cross said, "you have a choice to make. You can try to fight us. You'll lose, you can surrender, we'll let you go, or you can come with us." "Come with you where?" Cross smiled. It wasn't a kind expression. somewhere the Hollow haven't found yet, somewhere we can all be safe, if such a place exists. Commander, Varn interrupted, his voice shaking. Long-range sensors are detecting something. What? The young officer turned, his scales completely white. A gravity anomaly, coming from outside the system. It's big, Commander. Bigger than anything I've ever seen. Cross's face hardened. The Hollow found us. They always find us. How long do we have? Vasquez demanded. 8 hours, maybe less. The human admiral turned to face Thrax through the view screen. Her expression had changed again. Not tired, not ancient. Determined. Commander, you need to decide, now. Thrax stood at the center of his bridge, surrounded by chaos. His officers screamed reports at each other. His tactical display showed the human fleet moving into a formation he didn't recognize. And somewhere out in the dark, a creature that 8 stars was heading toward them all. Belay that, he snapped at Lieutenant Varn. Get me Admiral Vasquez now. The human admiral's face appeared within seconds. She looked like someone who had been waiting for this call. Decision time, Commander. I need to understand something first. Thrax forced himself to meet her eyes. You could have destroyed my fleet the moment we entered your system. You didn't. Why? Vasquez glanced at someone off-screen. Arthur Cross's face appeared beside hers. Because we needed you to see, Cross said. To understand, to make this choice with your eyes open. What choice? Follow you into the dark or die? Neither, Cross leaned forward. The Hollow aren't just following us, Commander. They're following everyone, every species that reaches space, every civilization that builds ships. They've been hunting for millions of years and they never stop. That's impossible. We've never seen. Of course you haven't, because the species that see them don't survive. The Dominion has 800 systems because you've never encountered anything you couldn't conquer. But the Hollow, you can't conquer the Hollow. You can't negotiate with them. You can't even understand them. Thrax felt his world shifting beneath his feet. Then what do we do? You run, you hide, you learn, and when you've learned enough, you fight back. Cross's eyes burned. We've been running for 800 years. We've lost everything. Our homeworld, our culture, our future. But we're still here. And every time we survive, we get a little stronger, a little smarter, a little closer to the day when we don't have to run anymore. You want us to join your exodus. I want you to survive. Cross's voice dropped. Your species deserves better than extinction, even if you came here to commit genocide, even if you thought we were easy prey, you deserve a chance. Thrax looked around his bridge. His officers had stopped shouting. They were all watching him, waiting. Commander, Varn said quietly, the gravity anomaly is getting closer. 8 hours was optimistic, maybe 5. The Hollow, Thrax said, that's the creature. Varn nodded. And Commander, there's something else. The anomaly isn't coming from one direction, it's coming from everywhere, like the space around us is collapsing. Cross's image flickered. That's how they hunt. They don't chase, they surround. They collapse the space around their prey until there's nowhere left to run. But you have a way out. We have a way to fold space, to create a corridor that even the Hollow can't follow, but we can only hold it open for a limited time. For how long? 4 hours, maybe less. Thrax made his decision. Admiral Vasquez, Arthur Cross, I'm ordering my fleet to stand down. We will not fire on your ships. We will not interfere with your operations. And Vasquez prompted. And I'm requesting asylum for my crew, for my species. Cross nodded. The gravity corridor will open in 30 minutes. It will take us to a region of space the Hollow have never visited. We'll have time there, time to build, time to plan. Time to fight back. The old human smiled. Time to do whatever it takes to survive. The gravity corridor opened like a wound in the universe. Thrax watched from the Dominion flagship's observation deck as space tore itself apart. The human fleet had positioned itself in a formation that resembled a key, each ship contributing to a larger pattern he couldn't comprehend. The colony vessels opened first, their gravity shadows expanding until they touched. Then the warships added their own signatures, folding space into shapes that hurt to look at. And in the center of it all, a passageway formed, dark, silent, beckoning. All human ships are preparing for transit, Varn reported. They've signaled that the corridor will remain stable for 3 hours, 17 minutes. And the hollow, still approaching. Commander, they've accelerated. The anomaly will reach us in 2 hours, maybe less. Thrax turned to face his bridge. His crew stood at attention, waiting for orders they never thought they'd receive. All ships, he said, his voice carrying through every channel, this is Commander Thrax. The human fleet has offered us passage to safety. I've accepted. We will follow them through the corridor. We will survive this day. And we will never forget that we owe our survival to a species we came to destroy. A pause. That's our burden, and we'll carry it. The Dominion fleet turned as one. 800 warships, pride of the Varnak military, followed a handful of human transports toward a tier in reality. Admiral Vasquez's face appeared on the main screen. Commander, the Hollow are accelerating. We need to move faster. We're matching your speed. Then come with me, all the way. Thrax nodded, all the way. The corridor swallowed them. Transit took 17 minutes that felt like 17 years. Space twisted. Time stretched. Thrax saw things in the walls of the corridor, images of worlds burning, species fleeing, civilizations ending. The Hollow's history. The Hollow's victims. Billions of years of extinction compressed into 17 minutes of terror. Then they emerged. The system on the other side was quiet, empty. A single yellow star surrounded by dust and debris, as if something had swept through recently and cleared away everything worth taking. Where are we? Thrax asked. Nowhere, Cross replied. A system the Hollow harvested 10,000 years ago. They won't come back for at least another century. A century, and then we move again. Cross's face appeared on the screen. He looked older now, more tired. Commander, I'm going to tell you something I haven't told anyone outside the Exodus fleet. The Hollow aren't just hunters, they're farmers. They let civilizations grow, let them reach space, let them think they're safe. Then they harvest. Every few thousand years they come through and clear the galaxy. And you're the crop. We're the only crop that ever fought back, the only one that ever learned to hide, the only one that ever refused to die. Thrax looked out at the human fleet. Thousands of ships, millions of souls, all of them waiting for the next hunt, all of them ready to run again. What do we do now? He asked. Now, Cross smiled. Now we build, we learn, we grow stronger, and one day when we're ready, we stop running. And if that day never comes, then we run forever, but we run together. The human admiral and the Varnak commander stood on their respective bridges, watching the same empty stars. Behind them, two species that should have been enemies prepared to face an enemy neither could defeat alone. The Hollow would come, they always came. But not today. Today, humanity and the Varnak drifted through the dark, two fleets becoming one, survivors bound by the same desperate hope. Somewhere in the void, the hunters turned toward fresh prey. And somewhere in the depths of the Exodus fleet, Arthur Cross began planning the next move. The chase wasn't over. It had only just begun.